Another week of AEW has passed us by, and I like to focus on booking on this channel. So, where I think the AEW booking is concerned, and I talked about it in my videos this week, my power rankings for the month of January, that Tony Khan's booking just does not connect with me because I don't think it is good. I just think that if we were talking about the WWE booking some of the things that AEW books, everyone would be ripping WWE to shreds. But for some reason, when it comes to AEW, people want to wear kid gloves. I feel like a lot of websites and podcasters who get the inside scoop from Tony Khan don't like to talk crap about Tony Khan because he's a very sensitive man. We've seen it on Twitter before. But I can't lie on this channel. I have to talk about the booking. But before we get to the booking and how I found last night's Dynamite mind-numbing with some of the decision-making, let's talk about the positives first. Moxley versus Adam Page, kind of a rubber match, kind of not. I mean, Adam Page had the concussion in the first match. It's hard for me to count it that way. But they went out, kicked each other's asses. The downer from that match was that it was very obvious when Moxley was doing a blade job. That's some bad timing from the camera work there. But these two actually do have a good chemistry when it comes to having these like brawl type of matches. I did hate one thing though, and that was Moxley kicking out of the buckshot lariat. I don't understand why in all of today's wrestling, but AEW is as bad as the indies when it comes to kicking out of moves. We've gotten to a point in pro wrestling where why even have finishing moves? They don't mean anything anymore because nobody with finishing maneuvers protects them. And this is another instance of that. It took away from Adam Page, who I think was probably the better option to go over in this match, especially with Moxley already out of the title picture. What more can he do right now where I feel like Adam Page can actually be built up again to maybe go on to face MJF in the future, but they went the opposite direction with that. My two favorite parts of Dynamite were the two parts where we actually got some story building. One with the Gun Club and the Acclaimed. They continued to build this story where it could either mean that Billy Gunn is about to do a turn on the Acclaimed to help his sons win the tag team titles, or this could just be a fake out where the Acclaimed win. But they have been setting it up to make it seem like Billy Gunn could turn. I mean, he's the one that made this match between them because he was getting so annoyed with his sons. It would be the right time to do a swerve, even though it wouldn't really be a swerve because we actually built up to it to possibly happen. The other pro is actually with the women's side of things in AEW. It's pretty telling that I feel like for the first time ever in AEW, a woman's story is more intriguing than any of the men's to me, with the whole thing they're doing with the kind of AEW originals and also Paige and Tony Storm, who came from WWE. I think it's a story with legs. Obviously, we've seen this kind of story many times in wrestling since the NWO, even before the NWO. But it has a different twist to it. And it has a different twist to it also because it's the women this time. Now, AEW will actually have to allocate more time for women's segments and women's matches on Dynamite to actually flesh out better dynamics from this possible storyline. And I don't know if we're actually going to get that. And that's one of my main things. Let's talk about the booking, the negatives of it. If the WWE was consistently giving the women's matches on Raw 4 minutes, just one match, they would be ripped to shreds so hard online. AEW continues to disrespect their women's division in my opinion, it does not make a lot of sense. It's like hurting yourself. Because once upon a time, when Impact / TNA Wrestling back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, when they were actually really building some momentum in the ratings, like AEW is yet to reach the heights that TNA reached in the ratings on Spike TV. But part of the reason that TNA was able to have some high-rated segments was that the Knockouts division was very high-rated. There was a stretch of many years where the Knockouts in TNA were the highest-rated segments consistently. But for some reason, AEW does not want to put in the time to build that possibility in AEW, and I don't understand why. The Jade Cargill match, who continues to get over with the AEW crowd, although at this point it's almost impossible to not get over with the AEW crowd because the diehards cheer anyone and everything. It was an effective 4 minutes of women's wrestling on Dynamite to get Jade Cargill her 50th win in a row, go 50-0. But that was it. We just got the 4-minute women's match and the little 2 to 3 minute or less women's segment with Britt Baker being beat up in the back by Saraya and Toni Storm. So that's strike one against AEW. If we're gonna, we got to start holding AEW's feet to the fire, because that's the only way they're ever actually going to get better. And we can say all the time that they have some good matches, but like I said in my video about the top wrestlers of January 2023, what makes a good wrestling match is very subjective. But what's not subjective is the masses don't enjoy the type of wrestling matches that these hardcore AEW fans enjoy, with all of these kickouts. Even there was a match on, I don't remember if it was Dark or Dark Elevation at this point, because it all blends together, because none of the matches on those shows actually matter or really help anyone, especially when you have Angelico kicking out of moves that he doesn't need to kick out of. You're on a match on Dark and Dark Elevation. You're kicking out of all of these big maneuvers. Why? I guess he did it so he could get 80,000 views on Twitter, but you're not going to get the 20 million like the Bloodline videos got. Now, once again, let's talk about this MJF versus Bryan Danielson story. This should be your main story. It's for the AEW World Title. But we've seen this story so many times between MJF and where everybody has to earn their shot at getting the title shot at MJF, or just getting a shot at MJF. And yet, then on Dynamite, just because Takeshita is out there attacking MJF, suddenly a match is made that if Takeshita can beat MJF, he gets a shot at MJF's world title. Then why is Bryan Danielson having to go through all of these wins in the first place? Especially since Danielson just beat Takeshita a few weeks ago in LA. So where is the logic in the story? There is zero logic in the world title picture story, and that it's such a bad story. I think it is really bad. This is supposed to be your main story, and it's a story we've seen 3 times now. Plus, it's starting to make zero logical sense. Khan needs to find a way to build better stories for his main titles, or any title. The booking for the titles in AEW outside of Jade Cargill's title have been pretty rough altogether in AEW's entirety. We're seeing the TNT title continuing to change hands over and over. They already killed Wardlow's steam, and I don't take the crowd cheering Wardlow in his return as a good sign, because like I said, the hardcore AEW crowds, the 4,000 to 5,000 people they can get in a 10,000 arena to watch Dynamite will cheer everything. I saw it with my own eyes in LA at the Forum. But let's get back to the TNT title real quick before I end this. This is my other concern with the booking, why did you even take the title off of Samoa Joe in the first place? Samoa Joe was on his way to having certainly the best TNT title run by far, and then he loses to Darby Allin. And sure, he gets this big aggressive win where he kicks Darby's ass to get the title back. But now he has to build up that momentum again. And I don't think that the Samoa Joe and Wardlow feud will be bad, but I don't think it will be good either. Because there's so many things that need to happen to make this more interesting. And I have to say, we're 4 weeks now, 4 weeks away from the next AEW pay-per-view, where they're going to be in like a 16,000 arena and they're struggling to sell just 5,000 tickets. The event's only a month away now, and I think they'll build up a few thousand more. I would hope that they could get at least half of that arena in San Francisco. But the last couple of AEW pay-per-views, they don't really start announcing matches for it or booking to that pay-per-view until like 2 to 3 weeks before the pay-per-view. I can remember when WWE was rightfully getting lambasted over doing this for so many years in the 2010s. But now AEW is doing it and everybody wants to give him a pass. We got to stop giving Tony Khan's booking a pass because it needs to get better.